What do you do when your time-traveling feline nemesis leaves behind just enough clues to warrant a classified case file? Well, you document everything. Suspicious sightings, forged labels, mysterious gear patterns, and hope he doesn't notice you're onto him. In this video, we're creating the second panel of a Steampunk Z-fold in Thaddeus's travel folio, including a hidden journaling card, vintage labels, and a highly confidential photo of Harlington T. Purrsworth himself. So, grab your coffee, cue the conspiracy board, and let's build this rogue agent's dossier before he hacks the typewriter again. This is part 2 of the Harlington files, and the Nemesis dossiers are coming up next, and believe me, you'll want to be fully briefed before that chaos breaks loose. Hi, it's time once again for coffee, crafting, and cats with the Ginger Cat Lady. I'm Pam, and Harley... You know, he's suspiciously quiet right now, which usually means he's altered the past and taken off with my ink dauber again. Today's project is perfect for journal makers who love a little storytelling with their journaling. We're continuing the build of our Steampunk travel folio, focusing today on panel 2 of the Z-fold and creating a faux ministry dossier for one suspicious orange tabby. There's hidden journaling, fabricated intel, and a side of steampunk flair. Oh, and of course, Harley helps. And while we're busy fabricating top secret documents, I may or may not be planning something fun for when we hit 500 subscribers. Stick around until the end for a little sneak peek. You won't want to miss it. All right, let's start crafting this next chapter in the time-traveling tale. Every agent under ministry surveillance eventually earns a dossier, and Harlington's was long overdue. This panel houses his official case file, or at least the parts Thaddeus has managed to gather. There's the photo, of course. Not quite passport quality, but certainly enough to put him on a watch list. I like this piece because it feels like a moment of pause in the file, a place where Thaddeus is trying to understand Harlington, not just track him. Maybe even wondering if he's the hunter or the one being watched. And of course, every case file needs a place to live. I'm starting with a simple pocket, just an ATC card from Cheryl's Crafts kit, trimmed and inked to match the scene, then glued along the edges. It's not flashy, but it's functional, and it feels like something Thaddeus might have added in the field, quick, makeshift, good enough to keep his most recent findings from vanishing into the time stream. Or under Hurley's paws. This kind of pocket is quick to build and super dependable. It doesn't add any extra bulk to the folio, but it still holds the dossier card snugly in place, even if the whole thing gets flipped through, shaken, or, let's be honest, knocked off the desk by a certain ginger saboteur. Sometimes simple is the most reliable option. Now, a dossier is only as good as its paperwork, and Thaddeus is nothing if not thorough. I designed this card digitally, then printed it onto craft paper to make it feel like it's been shuffled through decades of dusty file drawers. For the information section, I used this very official-looking line stamp, which came from a highly classified Temu order. Honestly, it's the kind of tool that feels like it should be restricted to government use only, but I'm not asking questions if you're not. The end result is something between a personnel file and a report form. Exactly what you'd expect to find on the desk of a time-traveling engineer tracking a feline with no regard for chain of command. Sometimes the smallest details, a stamped line, a trimmed edge, are what make it feel real, not just crafted, but documented. No official dossier is complete without a random string of digits that looks deeply important. I used this number stamp from Creative Expressions, designed by Sam Poole, and gave it pride of place on the card. Does it unlock anything? Nope, but it feels like it should, which is half the fun. The link's in the description if you want to add that same aura of fabricated authority to your next journal project. Quick tip, you don't have to use the whole stamp. This one had 6 digits, but I only needed 3, so I just inked up the part I wanted and stamped that. You're always allowed to boss your supplies around. In fact, I highly encourage it. I used a Sakura Pigma micron pen to jot down the quote-unquote official details on the dossier card. All entirely fabricated, of course, but with just enough bureaucratic flair to pass for ministry approved. I wanted it to feel like something Thaddeus, or the Ministry of Steam themselves, might have scribbled out in haste while tracking Harlington's whereabouts. You'll notice a reference to threat level 9. That's 9 lives of mayhem. And he hasn't used up a single one yet. To make the dossier look even more official, I added a portrait of Harlington himself. This was generated on OpenArt AI. It's got just the right blend of steampunk charm and suspicious resemblance to Harley. Coincidence? Highly unlikely. Ministry facial recognition? Still inconclusive. As with the rest of the folio, I'm stamping a few subtle gears in tea-dyed distress ink, just enough to tie this section in with the others. It adds a little texture, a little continuity, and just maybe a faint whiff of ministry-issued stationery. And of course, Harley has been helping. Or should I say, covertly aiding Thaddeus. He's spent most of this segment sprawled across the desk, obscuring documents, and casually relocating supplies, which I'm beginning to think is part of an ongoing sabotage operation. To give the dossier card a bit of undercover utility, I'm adding a piece of coffee-dyed paper to the back and folding it into a Z, instant journaling space. There's something really satisfying about this kind of fold. It's simple, but it feels secretive, like a hidden note passed in class or a classified memo folded in haste. I'm using one of my coffee-dyed scraps here. The texture is uneven, the edges are a little wild, and honestly, that's exactly what I love about it. It looks like it's already survived like one time jump at least. A quick crease, a little glue, and suddenly this dossier card becomes more than a record. It becomes a hiding place. Somewhere Thaddeus could jot down field notes, ministry codes, or suspicious snack receipts. When you're creating something as important as a dossier, every detail matters, even right down to the number label that you use. I chose one from the Junk Journal Studio, and yes, I did edit out most of the indecisive fumbling, but what used to take forever now only takes, let's call it half of forever. Hey, progress, people. And of course, I had to add a couple of gears to the pocket because, well, steampunk. Plus, it ties everything together with that gritty, gadget-laden vibe we've got running throughout the whole folio. These little steps might seem small, like lining things up just right or inking the edges, but to me, they're what give the piece its polish. It's not about perfection, it's about paying attention to the small details. That's what makes it feel finished. And for the final touch, I added a couple strips of faux vintage tape. You know, the kind that looks like it's barely holding on after a decade of time jumps. Thaddeus probably slapped it on in a rush, mid-escape, while muttering something about mission documentation or something. So that finishes up panel 2 of the Z-Fold, Harlington's official dossier, complete with fabricated facts, fabricated labels, and one very real supervisor who may or may not be aiding the resistance. I love how this section turned out. It feels like something Thaddeus tucked away mid-mission, chaotic, covert, and just believable enough to raise suspicion. But we're not done yet. Flip that Z-Fold over, and things get a whole lot darker. Next time, we'll open the files on Thaddeus's 3 greatest nemeses, 3 adversaries, 1 time-traveling engineer, and dossiers full of forged timelines, secret grudges, and rubber-stamped mayhem. Trust me, you're going to want to see what's in their files. Oh, and as I hinted earlier, we're getting really close to 500 subscribers. I've been quietly putting together a celebratory giveaway with some fun surprises, and I'll be announcing all the details very soon. So if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time to sneak onto the ministry's watch list. If you're enjoying the steampunk mischief as much as I am, give this video a like, share it with your fellow crafty conspirators, and subscribe so you don't miss the next secret drop. And while you're waiting for the next installment, go back and watch the beginning of this steampunk folio journey. I'll link the first video, as well as the hashtag Let's Go Steampunk playlist on screen so you can see how all this wonderfully suspicious nonsense began. And as always, may your scraps be endless, and your glue never dry. See you in the next one. Bye.